Hi, I'm Nicole Wolf-Camplin, the Adult Literacy Coordinator here at the Cape Fear Literacy Council. And this is the last video in a series, wrapping up lesson planning. So we've started with getting in gear. We've talked about direct instruction. We've gone from our lesson plan outline to a completed lesson plan by using our skill books. And now is where you can add a little bit more personal flourish and dash. This is particularly useful as you get to know your student. So of course, many of us have access to the internet, and here at the Cape Fear Literacy Council, we can actually provide you with laptop computers to use during your class period. Let's say you are reading a book, pretty dense, about colonial American history with a lot of period details, and you don't know what your student has already envisioned, or perhaps you even find out that your student has some misideas, some poor ideas of what was going on in this country at that time. That's a great time to get onto the internet and talk about, for instance, why the female characters cannot be as physically active as the male characters because of period dress. Showing any kind of picture or photograph or video clip is particularly useful. If you were studying the anatomy of the heart, for instance, it's pretty easy to download a schematic of the heart with very basic anatomy. If your student happens to be a plumber or a pipe fitter, then you might even go into more detail about describing valves and the flow of the blood through the heart. Today, to finish our lesson on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, I'm going to focus on the vocabulary of the word traditional. Traditional can have many different applications in our language, and so they make a big deal in the text that we've been discussing about the layout and the design of the Veteran Memorial. And so I went to the internet and I looked up some pretty traditional war memorials, and they all feature men with weapons and sometimes with horses. And then I also found obelisks, which are fairly common. And then, of course, the war memorial, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, is very different. So I looked at some non-traditional memorials. So for instance, this is one in Asia. This is the USS Arizona, commemorating the beginning of the World War II battle there in Hawaii. And because there's a lot of detail about the layout of the Veterans Memorial, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, I want to include some ideas to help my student visualize where she would be in Washington, D.C. Because reflection is also one of the vocabulary words in this reading selection. I also chose a photo of a visitor to the memorial being reflected back, and we can talk about what that means as you are reflecting on the past. My student, if you remember from back in lesson 1, is reading at about the 7th, 8th grade level, single mother of 3 kids looking for a GED, and in her spare time she reads romance novels. So as I was looking for a way to close this lesson, I decided to make a personalized worksheet. But you can use vocabulary words to make crossword puzzles or word searches. You could do a scavenger hunt, so your student has to find key details in a reading that they've just done. You can generate AI, either images or text to complement the material that you've been working on. In this case, I decided to write her a personalized love story that takes place at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And I used the fill-in-the-blank model here. So this is called a close activity. And to fill in these blanks, she has to use words that end in the letter Y, and she will have to decide whether to kick the Y to the curb and substitute an I before adding a suffix, or whether she just gets to add an ing or use the word as its regular old self. And so by writing this story personalized to her, there's more of a buy-in for her practicing those phonics and grammar skills. Thanks so much for watching. Personalize your lessons in any way you like.